What's up, everybody? I am back wrapping up the animated January month with a classic and a bold step in animated film production and just like a cultural touchstone, honestly, with Walt Disney. Oliver and Oliver and Company. Oh, God, man. It brings back fond memories. This film, I had to put on the list last year to talk about it today. Man, first and foremost, it's directed by George Schreibner, and this is based off of the novelization Oliver Twist, written by Charles Dickens. Uh, it stars Joey Lawrence as the orange tabby cat Oliver, Billy Joe as Dodger, the Jack Russell Terrier, Cheech Martin or Marin as Tito, the Mexican Chihuahua, Richard Mulligan as Einstein, the Great Dane, uh, Roscoe Lee Brown as Francis, the British Bulldog, Shirley Ralph as Rita, the Solosky or Persian dog, um, Ruth Pointer provided the singing voice for Rita, Dom DeLuise as Fagin, the well-meaning thief, owner of the dogs, Terrain Blanc and Carl Weintraub as Roscoe, and DeSoto as the Doberman Pinschers owned by Sykes. Speaking of, Robert Loggia as Sykes, the cold-hearted, immoral loan shark. Natalie Gregory as Jennifer Jenny Foxworth, the friendly rich girl. These characters are named and portrayed similar to how the characters are in the Oliver Twist book, which is pretty dope. Before I get into the meat and potatoes of the story, as I mentioned, this was a cultural touchstone in terms of animated projects because it's the first film. Oliver and Company was the first animated film developed by the Walt Disney Company under the supervision of Michael Eisner and Jeffrey Katzenberg, who had previously worked at Paramount Pictures. Ron Clements pitched like the idea for the 1989 Little Mermaid and then the 2002's Treasure Planet. Treasure Planet, who I've also reviewed, I think, last year. Eisner and Katzenberg story artist Pete Young suggested Oliver Twist with dogs. The next day, Katzenberg, who had previously developed a live-action adaptation of the musical Oliver at Paramount, approved the pitch for possible development alongside The Little Mermaid. George Schreibner and Richard Rich were announced as the directors of the project, while Pete Young was appointed as story supervisor. However, Young died unexpectedly in late 1985, and Rich was hired from Disney about 6 months into production, leaving Schreibner as the sole director. So this was like a big deal, and it had like a budget of $31 million and came out at the box office in 1988, in November of 1988, with $121 million. That was crazy. Like, it came out in the year that I was born, so like, by the time I was a young child able to like watching young like cartoons and stuff like that. I had like a VHS tape. I remember the VHS tape. It was like like almost like a book that you could open with Oliver and Company. Uh, and it was like, oh my god, like I wore that freaking tape out, man. It was like a great film, and it's fun to revisit it after all these years. This is how you make animated films. Plus, they didn't shy away from like the dangers of this film. They had like a gruesome death for the villain, too, but also they didn't shy away of child murder. They showed guns in here. It's just like, and this cat's life is constantly in freaking peril. It's like, oh my god, any moment, this cat could easily get tore up. So it's just like, yeah, like I said, they weren't afraid to show certain things, but they knew where the line was. But they wasn't afraid to show certain things to young kids. They treated kids like adults, but while still having fun in a way. Uh, and the music in this is incredible. But I think we all can agree we only remember uh, the uh, the Billy Joel song, which kudos to them getting Billy Joel to voice one of the bigger leads in this film. Why should I worry? Why should I worry? Why should I care? I was like, oh god, I I rewound this tape so many times as a kid just for that song, cause that song was so good, and it just makes you just hip, and you feel like you need to put on some shades while you're singing the song, while you playing on the while you playing the piano or something like why should I worry? You're just jamming. Oh my god, man, that is like that is such a good song, man. Anyway, I got all that stuff out the way. Now I can get to the main story. Anyway, if you read Oliver Twist, you probably pretty much know certain beats to this. But this is a modern retelling of that story, set in New York in this interpretation. So, the movie begins pretty doggone sad because you got like a bunch of kittens with no owner, with just like written note, with a box full of kittens with a written note saying like kittens for $5 each, but nobody's in there watching to sell these cats. It is like you could have just said like, here, free cat, take it, because who knows who the parents are, who were the owners of said cat who birthed these kittens are. None that's known. They're just orphan kittens. All but Oliver were adopted. By the way, they didn't really give this character the name Oliver until the little girl adopted him and gave him the name. At no point, they keep calling him just kid for the most part throughout the bulk of this film until Jenny comes into the picture. It just dawned on me like, wow, they didn't never give this kid this kid never give his own name. He never bothered to even come up with a name for himself. Jenny was the one to give the name Oliver. That's kind of wow, and kind of a unique thing in films. It's not many films you can get away with something like that, where you can pretty much by and large avoid the character having his name said or given throughout the bulk of the film until somebody else do it. Kind of funny. Anyway, so while avoiding getting drowned and attacked by crazed dogs, the next morning, Oliver runs into Dodger, the terrier, who decides to take Oliver as like a little sidekick in order to lift the hot dog wieners from the hot dog vendor, causing like forcing Oliver to give like a distraction while giving the iconic song, and Oliver following him like, hey, half of those dogs are mine, what the heck. And it's like, sorry kid, but then eventually get, impressed by the kids, determination. So Oliver ends up following Dodger all the way back to this barge where his owner and his dog crew are holding up shop. And so they all welcome Oliver uh, into their crew after Sykes comes looking for Fagin for his money that who knows that he loaned for what reason with this guy who clearly is not street smart at all compared to somebody like Dodger. So Sykes give Fagin 3 days to come up with this, matter of fact, unspecified amount of money that he owes to this loan shark. Otherwise, he will kill him and his dogs, which makes zero sense of why would you, because you won't get your money back if you kill this guy. And matter of fact, in a separate scene in the third act, he was on the phone talking with somebody else about some other people who owe money to him, and he actually said like no, don't kill him, we still need the money. It's just like, okay, why are you threatening the life of a guy that you want to give back money? And why would you loan money to a guy who won't be able to pay? That's what it's kind of strange in certain movies when you're dealing with like the main character having to go to a loan shark for money, and full well that it's different. Like in the movie Barbershop, the first movie with Ice Cube, that's different. He had to deal with a loan shark too, but the only difference is he had like a business where that's feasible for him to actually generate some income to pay back the money that was loaned. Here, you're dealing with a bum who barely has two nickels to rub together, and somehow you loan money to him knowing full well he probably has no capabilities of paying back. That is dumb. That is like a stupid business decision. You should have told this guy to kick rocks. Cause like, you're a bum. Why would I loan you any money knowing full well you got no job to pay me back? That's weird. At the very least, he should be working at like a soup kitchen or not a soup kitchen, but like as like a dishwasher or something. Matter of fact, why this dude ain't trying to find a freaking job this whole entire time? It's not like he's like sick or mentally ill or something like that where he has trouble working. So it's kind of like it's stupid things on both of these guys' ends. Anyway, Oliver scratches one of the Dobermans who's trying to hassle him and the other dogs, but luckily they get called back, so they couldn't really do anything about it. So the next day, Fagin gets the dogs and the cat to, I guess, trying to find scraps of like any type of treasure, trinkets, something that can be sold for money. Which is kind of like a smart idea. It's like you got all these, extra helpers to scour the city in like a certain radius to like gather some kind of pearls or something that you can sell for a reasonable chunk of money. But you got these idiot dogs like Tito bringing in like an empty ass wallet that's tattered up, and it's like, oh god, it's like y'all supposed to be street smart, but y'all bringing in junk. So weird, and got the nerve to put it in a treasure chest. I was like, golly, did you know, like, y'all know full well this guy is dangerous and gonna kill your owner if he doesn't pay back the money. Y'all fully aware of this, but some of y'all outside maybe Dodger and Rita, it's like, don't have the forethought. Like, okay, this empty wallet has nothing inside. Is it worth dragging it back to your hideout? No. You know, there's things like diamonds, necklaces, watches, things that could be sellable. It's so weird. If you're going to rob a wallet, you could have the decency to check and see if there's any cash inside or credit cards. Ugh. It's so weird. It's so dumb. Anyway, while trying to cause a distraction in the middle of the street to rob some people, Oliver gets trapped inside a limo where Jenny sees him and tries to like help him, and she's a little sad, and also she needs some level of companionship because her parents is out of the country on business and might not come back in time for her birthday, which, by the way, there's a calendar that mentions April 21st. So given it's supposed to be like 3 days for Fagin to pay back the loan shark, her birthday would have fallen on their April 24th, which is a day after my birthday, which is the 23rd of April, which this is, set in 1988, which will be the very year that I would have been born. It's kind of crazy. Oh, and by the way, since it's in the 80s, you see like, Oliver and earlier in the film trying to find some owner to find him and try to pick him up. There's clearly this guy in a, black guy in an 80s tracksuit with the boombox, dancing to the thing. Like you see in many 80s films, like the stereotypical black guy with the boombox and just trying to do this thing and jamming and stuff like that. And Oliver's trying to bounce to the beat and everything like that. But it's like, I'm thinking to myself, yeah, Oliver, I don't think you should be. You probably going into Harlem, and which is probably like not a safe place for you to be at anyway. Because who knows what kind of life this guy is living. Not to stereotype, but let's be real, it's the 80s. 9 times out of 10, it would have been like a good fit for Oliver anyway. Then he sees this young Asian toddler boy, sees Oliver and tries to pick him up and take him, but the mom's pulling on the kid. It's like, no, we don't need. You can play with the cat later. Blah blah blah. Trying to, and I'm assuming the mother's Asian, and I'm thinking to myself, yeah, I'm pretty sure you got enough cats, at home to cook up for the next meal. So it's kind of like, yeah, it's probably best for Oliver not to go with his family. Kind of dark humor, but let's be real. It's just kind of like, yeah, Jenny probably would have been the best lucky, 4-leaf clover of adoption he could ever want. But now the dogs are worried and try to, had to plan to rescue Oliver. Meanwhile, Oliver meets with the French poodle belonging to technically the parents, who doesn't like the idea of Oliver in her home. And Jenny clearly needs to take some freaking cooking classes, put in a bunch of cereal and slop in the dish bowl of the poodle, the dish bowl of the poodle for the cat, which is like, I know she's like gonna be 8 years old, but you're still old enough to know it's like, okay, maybe I should find like a different dish, like a saucer or a bowl, separate from the household dog for the cat to eat out of. And like, you wouldn't realistically feed a cat that stuff. You don't got milk in the house. I mean, it's kind of dumb. I don't expect cat food, but I know you got milk in the house to give to the cat to drink out of. Kind of dumb. But the dogs ends up distracting the butler in order to break inside the house. They mess with the French poodle, going by the voiced by Bette Midler, by the way, named Georgette. and eager to get the cat out of the freaking house so she can have like full reign of it, gets them to get the cat out, but the cat, Oliver, is uh, wants to go back because he likes it there. He enjoyed the company of Jenny. He feels like he found a place where he belongs. But while the other dogs are, starting to, get it and understand, is Dodger who feels betrayed because he kind of looks at Oliver kind of like a sidekick, or it's like kind of like in a way he's adopted the kid himself, like a proud dad kind of thing, But he feels a little hurt, which shocks the other dogs who see him kind of off his square a bit. It's like, yo, you never act like this. What? Like, chill out. It's like, no, you chill out. So, once Fagin gets home, sees the new collar on Oliver, come to realize, oh, you must have been adopted by some rich family. Then gets the idea to ransom the cat in order to get some money from the rich owners who's probably looking for it. He takes the idea to Sykes, who's already fed up as it is with this constant postponement from Fagin, which he ends up sicking his Dobermans on Dodger, who's get injured from these dogs who's already want to beat the heck out of Dodger in the first place. So he agrees to let Fagin do what he needs to do, but he's clearly going to be on looking to make sure this goes off without a hitch. So he sends out a ransom note to Jenny's home. Jenny decides to sneak out on her own with Georgette, and meets up with Fagin at the docks, who then reluctantly is like, it's like, I didn't expect a kid. I don't have the heart to do this to a kid. So he was about to give the cat back to Jenny until Sykes shows up, kidnaps the kid, and says like, hey, we're square now, Fagin. And realizing, oh, this kid comes from a rich family. Let's, I can just ransom the family for this kid back. So the team decides to rescue Jenny from this loan shark. So with the help of Georgette, they had to plan to distract Sykes and the Dobermans while rescuing Jenny. Sykes shows up in the nick of time to get them on his like little scooter bike thing, and they try to run away. Sykes, in his giant limousine with his Dobermans inside, chases after them, going so far as following them through the subway, which, by the way, this is New York. Why is this not more busier than it's supposed to be? Because, I've never been to New York before, but I know it's a very busy city. Even at night, granted, like, even if you say, like, this might be 3 or 4 in the morning, there should be at least straggler of people coming from or about to head into work for overnight shifts or something. There should be more people. Sure, there's trains still going by and obviously people inside, but it's just kind of like you go through this like tunnel system. There's nobody standing there. It's completely clear, and nobody's calling the cops or nothing. It's like no cops are following the situation because they're clearly running red lights and driving all crazy. It's just like, okay, where are the police officers and where are these people? Anyway, they drive in the subway, and after trying to rescue Jenny from Fagin, who's trying to snatch her up, Oliver jumps on Sykes' hand and bites him, which allows him to release Jenny, and Fagin managed to get a hold of her while Tito is trying to drive the bus, not the bus but the bike, and Dodger jumps on the car, saving Oliver from the Dobermans, and in the ensuing fight, the Dobermans, like I said, this is more of a not afraid to shy away from death here. The Dobermans ends up getting tossed off out the car and falling and getting fried on the third rail of the train tracks. Which, by the way, the rubber on the tires obliterates, and it's driving on the rims on the train tracks, and it's still going somehow. Don't even think that is even feasible, but it's a cartoon. So they show fried dog, pretty much. You see him like literally getting electrocuted right in front of your eyes, and managed to rescue Oliver and Dodger. Or at least they end up jumping out the way as Sykes, without saying a word, just seeing in awe of incoming train that clearly obliterates him upon impact. Which you would think would be a lot more of a bloodier mess than it was. At least, not saying I should be expecting body parts, flying, but you kind of expect at least a limb or two plopping over to the sides. But Faggot doesn't have to worry about Sykes anymore, even though you expect there to be some goons outside the Dobermans that will still be trying to collect or something. But whatever. But Fagin, who you would think will try to see if these rich family will try to give him a job or something like that. I would have taken advantage of that situation. Hey, you think like, your parents work, clearly work at some kind of fancy company, give me some type of job so I can pay for an apartment with my dogs and make sure they get properly fed and take care of and stuff like that. Something, but that didn't happen. So the crew says their goodbyes. Oh, by the way, Georgia finally, after all that smooth talk and aggressiveness that Tito tried to put on her to hook up with her, she got a little aggressive, more aggressive than Tito expected, and he's trying to run away from her now. That was a thing. But they say their goodbyes to Oliver and say they'll we'll keep in touch and everything like that. While Oliver's living a happy, rich life with Jenny. So the movie ends with the classic Billy Joel song, and it pans out of the massive city with the Twin Towers. Every time I look at old films with the Twin Towers, it's like, oh God, that's like, that clearly won't last. Unfortunately, won't last long. Anyway, but that is Oliver and Company. Great animation design, a great animation cultural touchstone in terms of like the building blocks of the Walt Disney Company. Fun to revisit after all these years. A childhood memory just unlocked rewatching this film. I had to talk about it. I was contemplating whether or not to put on the list for this year, and I figured like maybe I should wait till next year because I did a lot this month. I'm like, no, I kind of want to talk about it because I kind of want to watch it again. But man, I freaking love this movie, mostly because of the music. Well, at least that one music, the Billy Joel music. Oh my God, highly recommend you guys check out Oliver and Company. Oh my God, it's such a classic. It's such a classic, and it needs love because it's like clearly like, well, by this November it will be 38 years old of a film. It's kind of crazy. But anyway, yeah, man. Why should I worry? Why should I care? Oh God, God. We got sweet sour fare. Oh God. Man. I will see you guys in a little bit. I got some reaction videos I want to do in a little bit. But yeah, I will see you guys soon. Take care. Peace.